Perfect. All right then, guys, let's get started. So please give a big round of applause for Andrea. Ooh. Perfect. So we are here today to talk to you about the secret to driving value with social media. Now, the reason this talk has come about is because we were asked so many times when we do some incredible work, whether that be influence marketing, organic social, paid social, where's the value? And it's like, okay, let us talk you through how we've sort of overcome those situations. So this is Andrea. I am Kenny. I'm the Senior Social Media Manager at Connective3. So me and my team are responsible for all things organic social and influencer marketing.
I've been working on paid social for about 7 or 8 years now, and I've been working both in-house and client-side for big brands and small brands in the travel, fashion, e-com, and finance sectors.
Perfect. So traditionally, we have been treated as very separate entities. It's always been, here's your organic social team, here's your paid social team. But the industry has changed and shifted so much that we have sort of been pulled together, which we're both happy about, I promise. We've been sort of pulled together to sort of combine our strategies just due to how the industry has changed so much. So here is a little graph as to how things have changed and what sort of catapulted those changes. So first thing we've got is that pandemic. When that pandemic hit, everybody's consumption of social media, how they used it, what they did with it completely changed. We saw the rise of TikTok instantly, which was giving people access, people like us, people like everybody around, and brands access to astronomical reach really, really quickly. And then Instagram sort of responded and like, okay, we're going to launch Reels straight away. And when they did this two thing, we were saying, right, we're getting this huge reach now. And the industry itself, we demanded those on-platform analytics. So they began to progress a little bit more. So we were developing even more tactics, this, and it got really interesting.
Then we started seeing the appearance of native-looking ads. So brands started to kind of like shift away from your traditional TV ad-looking ads, and they started to look more and more like what we see on the organic side of content. And with this, we've seen that social SEO, which was always there one way or another, but it was more focused on hashtags, and now we look at keywords, we look at what we say in the caption, what sort of audio we're using, so these are becoming more and more important. And then as kind of like a response to all of this, we've seen an increase in user-generated content creators. And this is mainly because brands and agencies find it a little bit hard to kind of like keep up with all these demands, so then you have the UGC creators that pretty much absorb the cost of models, photography, makeup, production, and stuff like this, and also have that added element of trust and authenticity.
So what does this basically mean? It means that what previously were two departments have now sort of joined together, and at Connective3 we call this one social, because both things that we were doing, we found that there was such a crossover that we may as well sort of join forces in essence. But how do you use this to your advantage to sort of drive that value to keep all of the stakeholders happy? Basically this. So we all know the very traditional sales funnel. We think that on social now, with how it's changed, this has flipped into a loop. Instead of being that traditional sales funnel at the bottom where once it's purchased, that's kind of it. The use of TikTok, the use of Instagram Reels, everybody's got a phone, therefore everybody is a content creator. People are trying a product, and instead of leaving like a Google review or sharing it with their friends, they're picking up their phone, they're making an actual review, which fuels the discovery. So it goes all the way around in a loop. So if you hit that sort of loop well, you've just got this buying cycle that just can go on and on and on once you've got those foundations in place.
So now to kind of like bring into life, we're going to be talking about strategy, creative, and measurement. So why do you need an integrated strategy for paid social and organic? Why are me and Kenny on stage, essentially? So the idea of this is to use the targeted reach that you get from paid social with the trust and authenticity that you have from organic. And the final goal is to have the visibility, engagement, and conversion all into one. So talking about some of the tactics of how to do it. First of all is that we recommend to boost your ads in the Ads Manager platform. So rather than just going onto your Instagram or Facebook post and just click the boost button, go into Ads Manager because you have loads more options when it comes to targeting, when it comes to the objectives you want to run, and you also have a lot more insights. Then when it comes to organic and when you do your content calendar and you think about your pillars, stuff like educate, entertain, and things like this, have a think about which pieces of content you would like to boost and kind of like plan ahead and maybe ask for some budget for it. But do be flexible just in case you see that something that wasn't on the plan works really well, and just be open-minded and boost it. And think of organic as a bit of a creative playground, how we like to call it, because it's essentially a free way of testing what photo works better, what product, what sort of content works better before you put it on paid social and like actually spend money on it. And then test different objectives, because we see it with loads of different clients. Paid social can do different things for different people. So is it great for awareness, maybe engagement, bit of traffic, maybe even sales? So see what can do for you. And these are some really nice tactics that I like, especially on the Meta platform. And it's all about making the team, making the work that Kenny's team, for example, is doing, and really taking it to the next level and bringing it into paid social and getting that extra value out of it. So some of the ways of doing it would be to look at the organic page interactions. So all of these ways that I'm going to talk about are ways of using and creating little audiences. So on the organic page interactions, you can, for example, create an audience of the people who interacted with your Instagram profile, liked, shared, commented, whatever it was that they were doing, and you can then create an audience and re-engage with these people as you would like. Every video that you have on organic can be, again, created as an audience and then remarketed to them. If you want to go the extra mile and make it work really, really well, use it if you have an influencer video. So we've done this for one of our clients, and we've essentially done a test with just a brand-led TV-looking sort of ad. We put a video out there on an awareness objective, and at the same time, we had an influencer video, and then we created two remarketing pools. One that was people who watched the influencer video, and then people who watched just the brand ad. And then we remarketed them with sales, with the sales-led creative. And we found that the people who watched the influencer video had a CPA which was about 30% cheaper. So influencers do work very well, and no surprise, they do influence. And then the last bit would be, if you're an e-com website, if you have a catalog, and it would be great for you to set up your Instagram shop. And then from here, you can create audiences based on people who interacted with your product, clicked, viewed, added to basket, and didn't purchase, or whatever that would be. And it's a great way of just powering the sources of your Advantage Plus campaign, for example, and just make it work a little bit harder. Cool, now looking at creative. If you guys were this morning at the Claire's talk, she spoke quite a bit about creative and why is it so important, and why creative is essentially responsible for more than half of your campaign's performance and is the first point of interaction. So we're gonna be talking about what good creative looks like.
Yeah, for sure. So we've created this sort of Venn diagram that has what good creative looks like for organic, what it looks like for paid social, and then the bit in the middle that overlaps, that is really where you're going to sort of get the nitty-gritty value. So we all know for organic social, we need content that adds value. We need the audience to come away with something. If you're a fashion brand, perhaps styling tips. Skincare brand, routine kind of tips. We're also looking at social SEO, as Andrea sort of mentioned. Right now, it's not hashtags anymore. What you say in a video goes to how it ranks. What you type in your caption, on your on-screen text, all influences how much TikTok, Instagram, Facebook will show that content to people. TikTok are really transparent about it. Meta, as expected, are not, but we're playing with it, we're figuring it out. Reactive content, we all know that, again, TikTok, jumping on those trends, making it relevant to your brand, but also having that sense of humor with it is gonna skyrocket your reach, and again, that means skyrocketing those remarketing pools. And content frequency. Content frequency, it is so important. We all know that on TikTok, we need to be publishing like 2 TikToks a day. We're all running these content mills. But yeah, content frequency is so different on organic than how it is on paid.
Absolutely, and some of the other things that we do on paid and are quite different from organic is that our ads, let's call them ads, let's face it, are very strongly branded. So you have the brand plaster everywhere. We all know we want to show the brand in the first 3 seconds. They're built for sales. They have call to actions, USP, reasons from buying from us, and stuff like that. So these are kind of like the differences that we only see in paid.
Cool. And then where it sort of intersects in the middle. The first one, influencers. We know that as soon as you register your account on Instagram and you say it's a brand, your reach tanks. That's just what happens. Whereas influencers, they have a trusted audience, they have that engagement. When we put influencer marketing on organic, we know it's going to boost those engagement stats, it's going to boost that brand affinity. When we pop it on paid as well, we've seen skyrocketing click-through rates, things like that. It's having a trusted source in the middle, essentially.
Yeah, especially Gen Z. I think something about 60% of them trust more what an influencer says about the brand than what the brand says on themselves, so absolutely. Then the second one is animation. We use this quite a lot, particularly on paid, because we feel like if you just put an image out there, just like a flat image, it doesn't really work that well these days, but if you turn that into an animation. So what I mean by this is add a bit of a logo that kind of like flies in, just some sort of motion to it to create it into a video, and that stands out a lot more in the newsfeed compared to just a flat ad.
Cool, and then obviously bold creativity. Again, one thing that Claire said in her talk is that when you scroll, people are scrolling the height of the Statue of Liberty every single day. Again, Meta says thumb-stopping creative. How can you make your creative stand out next to all the other creatives out there, all the other brands, all the other sea of content? It's having bold creative that speaks your brand's language, but also speaks the language of the people that want to view it, essentially.
Then demonstration. This is especially important if you have a brand or a product that's a little bit more hard to understand, or if you're a brand that sells something that is not really e-com, so something that you would do in your house, for example. So it's really, really great to just show your product in use, how people use it, how people have used it, and like different ways in which you can interact with it.
And again, UGC, we've mentioned it, the power of the UGC creators. These are influencers without the influence. These are people who are experts in their field that create amazing content that an influencer would, but they're cheaper, they're more cost effective because of that, and they still create that content that does convert and does get those clicks on organic and on paid.
And looking at reviews. Reviews is such a big thing, especially if you're making a bigger purchase. Everybody goes onto Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, whatever it is, to see what other people are thinking about it. I have a friend who won't go to a restaurant without reading the reviews first, which I think is a bit extra. But we've been using reviews in ads, and I'm going to show an example later on, and these sort of things work really well. And this is what influencers are doing anyway. They're just like your friends, to say so, who you admire, who give reviews on the product you love.
And the last one, pets, but we'll get onto that very, very shortly to show you sort of the power of pets. Cool, so what does this good creative actually look like? So these examples are a mix of our clients as well as some stunning ones that we found as well online. But yeah, the first one.
So the first one is one for a hotels company. This was actually shot, if I'm not mistaken, by Rich, who you may have seen walking around today. So this is a stop motion-like ad. And then we've sent it to our creative department and turned it into this very organic, native-looking ad. And the whole point of this was to show how when you go to a hotel, you're being looked after, and you have that whole experience of wellness, really. Then the second ad is from Intimissimi, and I really like this very much because it really doesn't strike you as an ad. This sort of motion is very native and organic looking, and it showcases the whole collection. And if you advertise in different markets, there's no voiceover, nothing like that, no message you can, and the whole message is just in the creative itself, so it's very versatile. Then this one, so this has been shot on a phone, as you can tell. It's a vertical video, looks very native, looks like it's someone's very nice house and garden, but it's an ad at the end of the day. So we have the nice border, which is related to the brand, and you have all sorts of call-outs, USPs, you have the branding in it.
So we can take the content there without all the branding on it and utilize it on organic social because it looks like UGC content. So again, it's about that streamlining of content and making both sort of one asset work for both parties, essentially.
And you'd never know what it is until you see the brand or the call to action. And then the last one is the one I was referring to when I said about the reviews. So this is such a nice example of user-generated content. So this is Tapi Carpets, who sell carpets. And it's quite hard to visualize the carpet itself when you just get a sample that looks a bit like this. So we're using user-generated content to show how people have embedded it and styled it into their own home. And then we also have the reviews and the Trustpilot rating for that added layer. Do you want to ask a question? Sorry.
I wanted to ask about reviews. How do you not organically get reviews?
So you would go onto like Trustpilot and ask for permission from the people who posted it to use it in ads. You wouldn't just like use it like that.
There's no way to actually generate leads.
I cannot really hear you very well.
There's no way for you guys to actually create, like find a way to create social, to create a
I'm literally about to talk to that in 1 second. Yeah, so as you can see with this Tappy ad, so what we did here was our whole organic social strategy is UGC. So the things that Tappy have been tagged in. So, and we sort of cultivated this lovely community that is constantly sharing content. We're getting like 50 to 60 posts a day being tagged that we can utilize. And then we see which ones perform best on organic social, convert them into ads. And then those people, we ask them as well, okay, you share this all the time, you love the brand obviously, can you give us a review as well?
And this one is a really nice one from Tesco, and it's of course very native looking. It's a poll ad, we've all seen one. I always vote on a poll ad when I see it. It's quite engaging and it's beneficial from quite a few points of view. It's a nice way of finding out what product people prefer. You can ask, do you prefer this or that? So there's a nice chance of testing what people want, and you can also create an audience based on the people who clicked on the poll. And I believe on Facebook you can create 2 separate audiences, whether you voted pizza or pasta, and remarket people in those ways.
Cool, and the last 2 are influencer marketing content. So this is for Waitrose. Firstly, it's a super simple recipe. Secondly, you can tell someone's made this in their home. It doesn't look hyper professional. Thirdly, look how many times the brand is in there, but you are still learning something. And also, I love the fact that the end product isn't like pristine, perfect bowl of food. It is someone who's literally gone and made cookies at home. And I think the choice of influencer was really interesting. They chose the Anna Edit. If you don't know who they are, they have been doing this for years. They're one of like the originals. So Waitrose's brand trust, her audience's brand trust interact together. It looks native and it performs really well. And the last piece of creative here is for a coffee brand, and this was using ASMR. I'm sure you all know what ASMR is. It stands for audio sensory meridian response. It's that sort of tapping that gives you sort of tingles. And this is a long piece of branded content, but everybody watches it all the way through to the end because they want those tingles, they want to hear it, they want to see the process. There's something in the human brain that makes this kind of content really worth watching. But by the end of it, you don't realize that you've just spent 60 seconds watching somebody assemble their coffee machine, and then you can remarket back to them later on and say, you remember this coffee machine you spent a minute and a half with? Well, we've got a sale on now. And that's how we sort of interact, paid social and organic social.
This is a really nice case study for one of our clients that we have done, and it really, really shows how performance is like when you have a simple photography imagery, and then the image in the middle is one of the best performing on organic social, and it just tells a bit of a bigger story. It says that you need to use SPF every day of the week. It's a very nice image, and you also see loads of different products. So we wanted to test the organic looking one versus just the plain studio shooting photography one, and then we have seen a decrease in cost per acquisition of 45% and the click-through increased 4 times. So definitely, if you haven't already, try your organic content in paid ads.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think this is a testament because the amount of different ways we tried to visualize this whole use SPF every day, and then as soon as one sticks and performs really well, straight over to paid essentially. Okay, I'm going to take the measurement section because, as I sort of mentioned, I started off in organic social, influencer marketing, and then once all these changes happened, I had to get calculators out. I had to use Excel spreadsheets. I don't want to talk about it. It was rough, it was tough, but we're here, we're getting there. So why do we struggle to define and prove the value of organic social? And I think it is because we don't know what value is. We're sort of saying the word value when actually it's split into 2 camps. We've got commercial value versus brand value. So you need to split it out, say, this is what it's delivering on a brand value perspective, this is what it's delivering on a commercial value perspective. So we sort of say post to purchase, don't do it. It doesn't work. Don't go on your organic social and be like, look at this product, you need to buy it now. People don't want that. I like it, there's one shop in particular, I won't say who they are. As soon as you walk through the door, there's a sales assistant saying, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? No, that's not how people shop. You want to go in, you want to browse, you want to look around. Perhaps you linger on the shampoos a bit longer. That's when the sales assistant should come over and say, why have you tried this shampoo? Because you've looked at this one. And that's how we sort of work organic and paid social. So there's a lot more steps, but this is how we work it. Social and creative listening. We look at other brands. We look at what performed well for them creatively. We look at social listening. We look at what people are talking about in the blogs, in the forums, in the places like this. Then we go into our content creation stage. Then we look at the social SEO, so the voiceovers, the wording. Then we implement a commercial stepping stone, which I will talk about very, very shortly. That's when we boost the best performing ones, and that's when we get the purchase. So it's a longer process, but it nails it on a little bit more, and the conversion rate is much higher than sort of having a bit of a stab in the dark. So measuring the commercial value and that commercial stepping stone element. So what we did with one of our clients is we sat down with them and we worked out what is the actual commercial value of an email sign up for you? What is the actual commercial value of a brochure download for you? We worked that out based on them. Say like one brochure download is worth £20 to our business because we know that every 20,000 brochures we do this much sales. That's how we sort of looked at it. And then we said, okay, so actually, when we do these really good tracked links, these really good UTMs, we can see organic social directly is driving 1,000 brochure downloads per month, which actually, when you work it out, is this much value to your business. And then they start to go, so it's not just likes and follows and impressions. You go, no, it's not. So yeah, we do the track link, we create content designed for traffic, we track that activity on site, how many pages they're going to, how long are they spending on site, and we find that with organic social, they'll spend a little bit longer, they're more invested in your brand. And yeah, that's how we've got the value of that commercial stepping stone. So instead of posting and saying, look, this month we delivered 100,000 impressions, we can say, of those 100,000 impressions, actually this is what they did off the back of that. And if you take anything from this, every link is a chance to prove value. I think this is really, really important on organic social. Track every link, put a UTM on every single link. Whether that be, for example, right, one of our clients, again, the carpet company, we basically looked at them in their GA and we said, right, actually, let's have a look at where this traffic's coming from. Because we've done loads of UTMs, but we're still seeing these massive numbers. And we nailed it down to their link tree in their Instagram bio. So when we clicked on that had a UTM, but actually all of the other ones under it didn't. So once we applied those, we saw their sort of organic social revenue go from, it basically quadrupled essentially. But yeah, every link is a chance to prove that value and really nail that proposition. And then you've also got you're making content commercially. So we know people have to make commercial content. We try and avoid it because we know it doesn't have a high engagement. But if you do it cleverly and it adds value, that's really important. So here's just a few examples of ones that we've done. So for example, this was for a travel insurance and travel money client. This was our best performer by far. It was an influencer who had 13,000 followers. The influencers had loads and loads more. Actually weren't comparable when we boosted it forward. We knew that people were looking for holidays in this location. We knew that we were trying to target families. And basically we got her to tell a story. And people watched this minute to end. Traffic was up. This is where we go into the pet stuff again. So the carpet company again, we found that this video performed super well on organic social and incredibly well on paid social, but it actually showed off, Tappy do these free samples. That was a CTA, but we did it through the medium of a dog and it really worked. And then we've got kitchen clients. So this is basically a case study. This is where you take somebody who's bought your product, loves your product, and you say, right, can we actually come to you and film something? And yeah, it's a really beautiful way of doing a review essentially. Instead of just having it written down, taking that extra effort, taking that extra mile is really cool. And here's another case study basically where we looked at influencers, we tested different polls, and we just basically boosted forward that best performing content. And yeah, 700K reach, 10,000 traffic, 60K in sales, blah, 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 all in one weekend. Anything more to add, Andrea?
No, just saying if you want to catch up with us, ask us any questions, we'll be here. And yeah, thanks for listening to us.
Thank you so much, guys.